At American University, we don't just hope for change, we create it. We don't just dream of a better world, we make it a reality. With a graduate degree from AU, you'll access expert faculty and connections throughout DC to develop skills and experience to turn your passion into purpose. And that purpose can make all the difference in your career. Discover the difference a degree makes at american.edu/grad school.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio here on iTunes and CFRE. I'm your host, Nav Nanwa. This is a show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And we're back again with another episode full of hot takes. And I'm going to introduce my guest. Starting to my right, she is a former colleague of mine on Rogers TV. She used to be known as what, the Pure Beyonce?
Still. Jamonce. How you
Jamonce.
mean? Jamonce. What are you even talking about?
She is a community builder, public speaker. You do a lot. You do a lot.
Yeah.
But I really commend you for it because you kill it. But it's my homie Jamila Campbell finally on the podcast.
I'm here. Yes. Woo. Yes.
Bravo.
Yes.
Bravo.
I got a clap for you now.
No pressure.
And sitting beside her is one of my homies. He runs a collective called Stay Out Late, and he's totally killing it in the Toronto Sea when it comes to events like Jungle, as well as artists like Tremaine and Scotty Ivy. I got to give a huge shout out to my boy Jay Parks. Thank you so much for joining us, Jay.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
As soon as I dropped this podcast, he's like, "Yo, you got to get me on, talk some shit." I was like, "All right,
I
cool."
mean, like, you guys like, yo, have a podcast? I'm like, yo, first show, put me on.
Yo, can I be on it?
I'm like 3 shows later, but it's all good.
No, I appreciate Episode 6, man. Don't worry. Actually, episode 7. I'm like losing count. I'm losing count. There's too many of these now.
And ironically, it's in February.
I know. Crazy, eh? Mind blown. Actually, I kind of feel like I'm being ganged up on because both you guys went to North Park and I went to
You mean Vikings?
Oh my god, this was a mistake.
Yo, I forgot what the mascot was for a hot minute. I was like, why you yelling?
Oh, for North Park? Well, yo, for Turner it was Trojans, which we got teased all the time for.
I wonder why.
Turner was the weirdest school. It was like half nerds and then like half like just.
Yo, we had everybody in Turner. It was nuts. We had super advanced IB kids all the way to like people that, you know, I don't want to be rude, but like super basic, right? And it was just like a big conglomerate of all these different people. But everyone was up to something. Like everyone had their crews, and you know, we had like world-renowned chefs mixed in with students that were getting into like Columbia University
and rappers. So. Roy Woods.
Yeah, Roy Woods went to Turner Fenton.
Wow.
Way after my time, but yeah, I rep from Turner for sure. Actually, Russell Peterson went to Turner Fenton too.
Did he? I heard he went to North Park too.
Did he? He went to both?
I don't know. That's what I was told.
You guys had Director X, and you guys had somebody else too.
Me?
Oh yeah, Jamila Campbell.
Yeah. Scotty Ivy, Tremaine.
I don't know why we're tripping over that.
Yeah, Tremaine.
North Park produced a lot of hot people.
Honestly?
Wow.
I feel like there's someone else that's big.
Wow. That's about it. That's it. Wrap up.
Michael Cera went to what?
Michael Cera went to
Leisure, I think.
Wasn't it Central Peel or Centennial?
Is it in that area?
Let's say Keisha Shante went to Leisure. I remember that.
Yeah.
Kiki, do you love me?
Oh, stop. I just realized that. Mm-hmm. Wow. It all makes sense. Mm-hmm. But guys, let's get started. This is too much to talk about in this week's episode. Got a couple of topics that I want to run by both of you and get your theories on. First and foremost, let's talk about the hot news from today. I'm going to move around a little bit. Actor Jussie Smollett and his wild incident.
Oh, damn. Is that his real name? Jussie?
Well, Justin's his real name.
Oh, okay.
But Jussie is what he goes by when it comes to his his former acting career. I feel like he's officially canceled now. But just to recap, at the end of January, he was a so-called victim of a hate crime by 2 individuals wearing MAGA hats, claiming to beat him up, and eventually he claimed that the actual attack itself was racially driven, as well as driven based on his sexuality. And it came out today that the entire attack was a hoax. And a lot of celebrities are pissed off. A lot of people in general are pissed off. And this is horrible. And I want to get both of your theories as to why you think he did this. And before we get into that, what are your thoughts on this? Because this is really bad.
You jump on this first. Let me keep sipping my tea right now.
Jam's just sipping her tea, not even bothering you.
I just can't. I simply cannot. Like when I was like reading the story, I was like, and that's the thing. Like when a victim comes out, we have to respect the victim
100%.
first and foremost. But I was finding it difficult to do that because some of the facts that were presented were very questionable. The time he was coming out, is Subway even open at 2:30 in the morning?
I mean, it's the States, so like,
possibly
they do things different.
So forget that. But like just those little things, like the bleach, the noose, and the guys, being specific about Empire and whatever show he's on. There was just so many things. I go, this doesn't sound 100%.
It sounded very orchestrated.
Very theatric.
Very theatric.
And they put a noose on my neck. So who at 2 o'clock in the morning
is walking around?
And they're like, listen, Billy, we got to go find that Jussie guy. All right? My sources tell me he's going to Subway at this time. So pack your noose, pack your bleach, and let's go. Something about it just seemed.
No, it's weird. And
it was mad eccentric from the get-go.
No,
it was
totally,
weird. Yeah.
Totally. And one thing I'll say is I didn't know who this guy was because I never watched Empire, so I wasn't too sure who this guy was. But when I heard about the attack, I was like, "Yo, this is fucked up."
Yeah.
But then, to your point, when I was reading into it, I personally I'm not one to victim blame, so I wasn't going to jump to conclusions. But it sounded a bit too good to be true. Jay, what was your thoughts?
Oh, okay. When I first heard the story. What's that saying? Everybody says got to hear both sides. Yeah. So I was like very hesitant to like make an assessment on what was happening initially.
Yeah.
Because I find like, especially in this age of social media, people are so gung ho on picking a side and going all the way with it,
man.
Without like really hearing like the evidence and the full story. So like I waited pretty much till today to have an opinion on this, and like I think it's more of a reflection on us as people than it is on like this whole situation. Like. People do crazy things to stay relevant. Like
totally, man.
What's going on right now with the Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, Tristan Thompson? Like, all this stuff is just to
Jordan
stay
Woods,
relevant.
Right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, 2019 it's been a weird year for like just very strange, almost like a TV show in itself, reality. You know what I mean?
Exactly. This has to be the weirdest story of the years.
But
thus far.
The thing about it is too is like when stories like this come out in the news. If you stay silent, then you're, if you're a celebrity especially and you stay silent, then your followers are going to question, well, don't you think this is wrong? Don't you believe him?
Yeah.
So you have to step out and say something, right? So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And I just watched. This story is not something that's, a part of my brand or the things I put out there, but I watched and I kept my thoughts to myself on how believable does this sound? And then I watched his actions and his whole attitude in interviews, and I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, you weren't sold.
To me, it felt like there was a piece of the puzzle that was missing, and I wanted it to come down to evidence. I wanted to see video footage. I wanted to see, whatever reports came up. Like I wanted to see marks on his neck, and it wasn't adding up. So again, because it wasn't adding up, I think I canceled it in a way a long time ago, and now I'm just like. Just looking at the story going, well, how about that?
The strange turning point for me was when he went and did like a show. And
the concert? And he goes, like, and then they asked me. Oh, the gay Tupac. I didn't hear that line. I heard it today and I was like, okay, boy.
Yeah, I heard about that. So what's the story behind the gay Tupac line?
Because he's hard.
And you know what I mean?
Like I'm hard and gay. Like
that can mean a lot. That can mean a lot.
Yeah, this guy's like trying to be a martyr for like I don't know what cause per se he was trying to run, but like this takes like the victim. What's the word term for this? Like this takes everything like the gay rights people talking about like
and me too and all that.
4 steps back, people people have a hard time believing things already. You know what I mean? People always question stuff, and now after this, he did a lot more harm. Than I think he even realized going into it.
It's a spin in the face of anyone who's of any color.
Yeah.
Spin in the face of anyone who's LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Also, the fact I'm looking at a Variety article right now. even like Donald Trump tweeted about how it's insulting to MAGA supporters. Like
he offended everybody, man.
Yeah, like in one simple incident, just to become popular. There's probably people that are siding with Trump on this.
Trump's
one.
like, listen, we may be bad people, but we don't do that. Okay,
he
that's
has no one in his corner right now. It seems
and
like.
it's a shame because his reason behind doing it was for selfish gain.
Yeah, right.
It's not like he was trying to bring attention to something else. It wasn't like he, had gone through something and then he kind of exaggerated the story for some attention or some support. It was for selfish reasons.
What was the reason?
He wasn't satisfied with his pay on the show.
So how does
here and that's the thing. That's the thing, right? I don't know why he felt that if I'm a victim, and I think people said that maybe his character might be written off the show already. So if they were to write him off, then it would look bad on them, I guess. Like, how dare you guys fire the guy who was just attacked? How dare you? How dare you? Right?
Yeah.
When you know what, this is a prime example of how karma works, and it is a sad shame where we're now living in a time where we are starting to listen to victims, and already people within the Black community do not feel that they are believed when it comes to allegations of abuse or assault or sexual abuse or whatever it may be.
This just makes it worse.
And then to do this for such selfish reasons, you know, when you're so disappointed in someone, you just don't know what to say. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I don't know what to say about this guy. God. It's so disappointing.
So he's canceled.
He is. Listen.
I think he's canceled. Jay apparently doesn't think he is.
Circulation, alteration, delete, man. Delete. Like, he's done. He's done. How do you build up from that? How do you come back?
I mean, you know what? Charlemagne, the God, says this thing. Yeah. If we canceled Malcolm X before he became Malcolm X, we wouldn't have had Malcolm X. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this guy's Malcolm X.
I was going to say, where are you going with this?
But, I'm waiting.
Dude, you can redeem yourself. I think this guy can redeem himself.
I don't know how. Redeem himself?
I don't know how.
Big Brother Celebrity Edition in 10 years.
Yeah, man.
And not even the U.S. edition, the UK edition. Because they're actually more accepting of these types of individuals.
B-list
based
stars.
on their
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that I'm very sorry for those who know him and those who really stepped up and defended him. That this is what he did this for. It's sad.
Okay, so to peel back the onion a little bit more, do we feel like there's a mental health issue here?
Sometimes I feel like to a very small degree, we all suffer from some sort of mental health issue.
Totally.
I feel like some people may use that as an out. I don't know. With this guy, he seemed pretty sound up until this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I haven't heard any stories of him doing anything eccentric, anything crazy until this.
He's apparently had stories in the past of falsifying information.
Oh, really?
And things. Wow. And don't quote me on this, whoever's listening, but there is stories or reports on previous incidents with the police where he has changed his story on something or was driving without a license and was impersonating somebody else. So there is little things in the past, and there is a possibility. This could just be flat out like narcissism, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like desperate times calls for desperate measures. I don't know. I just can't wrap my mind around why somebody would make up something like this, hire people, like stage this, and have the world collectively come together and hurt for something that wasn't even real.
That's what I mean. It's so premeditated.
Yeah,
that I have a hard time believing it's a mental health thing. I really feel like this is America. People will go to extreme lengths.
The guys weren't even white. Like he said, white dudes.
I know.
You hired two Nigerians.
Yeah, no, for
two brothers who in most, I feel like they're like two victims. They were probably
because if they didn't find out. And they caught these guys, and he never admitted to it. Or didn't have evidence to put together.
Yeah,
they would have went to jail.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Over what, $3,500? Is that what they were offered?
Yeah.
That's like what your bail money, not even. So it sounds like he might end up facing upwards of 3 years of jail. This is a sad story. I'm just kind of harkening back to when the story first came out, and just being on my Instagram feed and seeing people like Rihanna and other prominent people like Cardi B show their support, and now some celebrities are not even touching it.
They said a lot of celebrities deleted
it, or just they're gonna ignore it.
They just said, "I'll just leave that one alone."
Cardi B, I know, addressed it and said that the guy was full of shit on one of her Instagram lives. But again, to your point, I think the biggest victim in all of this are all the people that actually go through shit like this. And the next time, I think about you know, the Me Too movement, and you think about people like Terry Crews that have been victims, and now are we always, you know, in your eyes, based on the next time you hear a story involving a celebrity and racial profiling or someone being sexually abused or anything of that nature, are you gonna think about it a second time before actually buying into it?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna listen to it,
Yeah.
right? I think just in this situation, it was the details of it that was so okay, like bleach, noose, this, that. You're that blank, blank, blank guy from Empire. Like, wow, okay. Like, so was a brilliant script.
Yeah.
For a sitcom.
It was.
Terrible
right?
casting, though.
Terrible casting.
That's a good way to
Two
put it.
white men,
Brilliant
two
script, terrible
extremely
casting.
buff Nigerian men. But some may look at this as a major setback in victims coming forward. I know for me personally, I'm not. A victim's going to come forward, and I'm still going to listen to what that victim has to say, and then we're going to give her the due diligence it deserves. But he did do a massive disservice to so many people.
Jay, what are your thoughts?
I feel like there's been so much progress in the last few years that this will look bad, but I don't think it will hinder the movement in any way whatsoever. I just feel like, for me personally, when I see stuff like this, I always take a step back. I don't like to jump and have an opinion. I'm on my phone looking at it. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't see what's really happening. And most people, like 99% of people, are in the same situation. So to come to a conclusion and be like steadfast in that without really seeing fleshing it out, I think that's what we need to do as people, is just kind of like, hold on, let's hear both sides. Let's flesh out the details and then decide. Like, sometimes people get accused for stuff and people don't want to hear it, or people have a decision in their mind like it's not true. And that's the problem. Before any of that happens, hear both sides. Flesh it out, give it some time, stuff like this. If people already decided from jump that this was the case, and then no one gave it time to gestate, we might not got to the point where we found the truth, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I guess just to close this one out quickly, if you're Jussie Smollett and you know that you're facing jail time, would you make a public statement kind of addressing the fact that, hey, I was stupid for doing this and I kind of accept the consequences?
No. If I'm Jussie Smollett, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a tell-all book.
Make some money off this?
Bank, I mean, why not, man?
I said bank.
Oh, man. So in 3 years, we're going to see this guy on Dr. Phil?
And people will buy it. People will buy the book. People will want to know. This is America.
Crazy.
Monetize everything.
Crazy.
Well, that's the way he could spin it, right? He could take
this is a social
mental
commentary.
health angle, or I was acting in this way, this is what was going on, this is what provoked me. I think he does owe people an explanation. And I don't think he should sit silent about this. You were very vocal. You did several interviews. He had a concert, and before he sang a song, he said, my lawyer advised me not to say anything. My lawyer's probably in the audience right now going, no, don't do it, but I'm going to say it. Did I fight back?
Oh.
Hell yeah, I fought back. Who did you fight back? Who?
I know.
Who?
Nobody.
Who did you know what I mean? So there was just so much going on, and I think it had a lot of people, especially people who do identify as LGBTQ, on the edge of their seats. Already for me, being a woman of color and being in an interracial relationship, I have no desire to travel to the U.S. right now. No desire. I am literally scared of the idea of walking down the street, and if there's a person who sees me and my husband and how they may respond. Can you imagine if you are someone who is a person of color and you self-identify as LGBTQ and you're walking the streets and how scared you are because some guy decided to be selfish? Nah, you're canceled. Apologize. No.
I think that's a fair point to end that on. And it'll be interesting to follow this story.
I ain't following anymore. He's done.
Oh, yeah, he's done? Okay,
No,
okay. So we're not going to follow it. He's officially canceled.
I'm going to follow it.
Yeah. Jay, we'll
I think he'll redeem himself. I don't know how, but I said it here. So if it happens,
Jussie, if you're looking for a manager,
I'm a prophet.
Looking for a new manager.
Jay's like a one-man PR agency.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see what happens in 3 years. Moving on, though, something else that took place, which was kind of odd considering, again, the fact that 2019 has been a weird year and we've seen a lot of these incidents taking place over the last few months. Culturally insensitive fashion. So Burberry is the latest brand to release a culturally insensitive fashion piece. Funny enough, this is also involving a noose. I don't know what people's obsessions are with
what's
noose.
The theme with nooses?
I don't know.
It's,
It's weird. It's really weird. But yeah, actually, Ricardo Tisci actually apologized because there was a hoodie that was released that has a noose around its neck. But this follows the heels of Katy Perry being in the news last week for releasing shoes that supposedly were depicting blackface. And then a few weeks ago, Gucci was in the news for depicting blackface using one of their hoodies, which Dapper Dan even told them that, hey, I'm going to stop carrying Gucci stuff unless you fix that. So what's going on? Like are brands just culturally insensitive? Like do we live in an era where people are trying to push the envelope, or are people just tone deaf? Like I don't know what's going on. And Jay, because you're in deep when it comes to street culture, and even just you're around people that have their own clothing lines. Like what's your perspective on these racial themes being incorporated in fashion, and then once they're called out, these brands being like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we never knew."
They know. I think they know.
Yeah.
I think the controversy helps. You can publicize it, you can spin it, you can use it. I feel like, what's that term? There's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah.
It can't be that dumb. Like, it's 2019. Like, blackface has been around since forever. Like, since, the turn of the century.
Yeah.
So everybody knows about it. You can't be that insensitive or unaware. You know what I mean? So I feel like one of the main issues is that they don't hire enough colored people at these fashion houses, that, like, someone to be like, you know what? This isn't a good idea, and I'll tell you why. I feel like Gucci, these historical, like, big fashion houses that are just recently starting to hire people of color, they need to be more inclusive with the people working. Someone needs to be, there has to be a committee at every fashion house to be like, nah, this isn't cool, and this is why. I don't understand how this keeps happening, especially in such quick succession. Like the Burberry news thing right after the Gucci thing. The Gucci thing happened, you would think Burberry would be like, maybe this might be teetering on the edge. We shouldn't do it. But nobody in that office said, you know what? Nah. Yeah. I just think they're aware. They're doing it for a reason. What the reason is, I'm not privy to it.
And even last year, Gucci came out with turbans. Like they had people rocking turbans on the runway. That was supposed to be a fashion statement
Shout
as well.
Shout out to Dusty Loops. He was not happy.
Yeah, I know.
And
he was not happy.
Rightfully so. Like cultural appropriation for like fashion. And I mean, like you could have easily hired a Southeast Asian to model.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you know what I mean? Avoid this whole issue altogether. But I don't think they care, man. They're still gonna make their money.
Yeah,
it keeps them in the press. I can't think of a reason why in 2019 that they're not conscious of it. Yeah. They have to be. They just don't care. That's how I see it.
Jam, what are your thoughts? Do you still work Gucci?
First off, my money ain't going there. Shout out to Zara, still waiting for that deal.
A Zara partnership.
I really wish there was a camera to see how exhausted my face looks right now. I'm tired. I'm so tired. And people bring it back down to, you know, and like you said, Jay, like we don't have enough people of color in these fashion houses. You don't need people of color in there to make you responsible for the decisions you make when it comes to your brand. We live in a very digital time.
Totally.
We live in a place where you could run a pilot you know, draft of it or whatever, and bring people in and survey them and ask them what they think of this piece and get that opinion. You could make the effort to test your product out before you put it out. I like to believe that when it comes to blackface, when it comes to culturally insensitive things, that people are extremely dismissive of harmful things that have happened to black people. So it's very easy to make these decisions and make these so-called mistakes, and then they just figure, people forget about it next week. Right?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me.
And they do forget about it because there is literally no reason. There is no reason that, like, when you think of blackface, what are the two things you think of? Like, black and big red lips. So tell me, why? Who? Which designer decides, let me make this black turtleneck, and to protect your face, put these big red lips. This should be cool. Like, I don't understand the reasoning behind it. I'm truly perplexed, and I think it is intentional. I think they are doing things to get that negative attention because people are going to talk regardless. And at the end of the day, boycotts happen temporarily and people go right back to business. Because why are you not going after other culturally insensitive actions, right? Yeah. Why is it always coming back down to things that are harmful towards black people? I'm confused by it.
No, that's a fair point. And you know, one example I do want to talk about from a few years ago, and obviously, you know, he has some interesting views right now. But Kanye West, when he had the Yeezus tour, he had the Confederate flag on, like, visible on the T-shirts, and I know that really rubbed people the wrong way, especially a lot of, at the time, this was 2013. a lot of historians, a lot of black historians were like, look, that was a symbol of negativity for our people. And the fact that it's on your clothing is not a good look. And again, I always looked at that as being just a constant need to want to push the envelope. And again, even now with him wearing the MAGA hat, he says he wears the MAGA hat to change to change the narrative per se. I'm not saying that that's what Gucci or Katy Perry or even...
But I think some people put it out because
Burberry
they don't
doing.
see what's so bad about it. And I could say that from experience because I won't say specifically who this organization or company or whatever it is.
Oh, shots fired.
I can't. I really can't.
Say it.
But a particular...
Say it.
Actually, you know what? I really could say it, and it's not... It's the truth. It's already been publicized or whatever. So years ago... a school in Brampton, I'll just say that much. A school in Brampton, the VP dressed up as Mr. T for Halloween.
Oh, I remember this.
Now, let me see. You're picking out your Halloween costume. Do I got a mohawk? Check. Do I got a big old T and other jewelry around my neck? Check. What's missing?
Oh, man.
Let me do blackface. In what, 2015? I am a VP at a school. I talk to my students about being culturally responsible, but you know what? People won't be able to tell who I am with this mohawk and this T around my neck. So let me just add an extra layer to it so that people know who I really am. I remember being at work and I was talking about it and people were like, what is the big deal? Yeah. It was a Halloween costume. Mm-hmm. They saw no harm. So I think people see it and they say, there's no harm. That's just a statement. It's a style. There's no harm. No one's going to be emotionally affected by this. And that is not the way to run a business.
No, it's not.
It's not the way to run a business. It is insensitive. It is reckless. And everyone, again, who decides to move forward and make that call, you're canceled. You're canceled. Like, you're canceled, in my opinion.
Well, especially in the climate that we live in now.
Oh, my God.
Like, you need to
Google. We have Google.
You have a lot of information available to
We got Wikipedia, we got Google, and we got people. You're telling me you can't use one of those?
Yeah, that's true. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I wanted to make a point about the Kanye Confederate flag thing you brought up.
He's for it.
I'm not for it, and like honestly, Kanye's been a very divisive figure in my life recently.
Man. Me too, man. Me too.
I love Kanye, but like I also don't like him very much right now.
Yeah.
But I remember having a discussion. I forgot who it was with, but okay. So this is the parallel. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, I swear to.
All right, so. So the Confederate flag was a symbol that represented a lot of what was going on in early America, a lot of the negativity that came with the slave trade, the oppression of black people, Jim Crow, all that. I compare the parallel between the flag with the N-word, nigga, or hard ER. I'm not going to say it, but black people took that and reclaimed it and made it their own, almost empowering term. A lot of people would fight that, disagree with that. Kanye made a point saying he was doing the same thing with the Confederate flag. And you can make that argument and kind of see that. Some people wouldn't agree, but I can see that. And I'm for that because that pisses them off more than anything. Seeing like a black guy who's saying, no, fuck you, but still rocking their shit. They hated it as much as like black people hated seeing it. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think there's something kind of empowering about that. So in that instance, I feel like that was more of a statement than it was trying to push the envelope. As far as this Gucci blackface thing, I don't see. There's no statement. That's
no
strictly
statement at all.
No, that's strictly just careless.
Well, especially in the world that we live in, like my main background is marketing, and right now in Canada we do have a large influx of new immigrants and a very multicultural population. And when it comes to launching marketing campaigns, we're running these campaigns through legal. We're putting it through culturally sensitive organizations. We have a multicultural marketing team that's going to vet stuff and make sure that, we're not promoting products that are actually offensive to these demographics. I'm wondering from a business sense, like where's the internal whistleblowers that are getting?
Well, there was a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Apparently, the model who was wearing the sweater with the noose.
With the noose, okay.
I think I read somewhere where she actually talked about it, and she didn't talk about it in a slavery point of view, from what I understand. I think she's talking about it in terms of suicide.
Suicide, yeah.
So she did bring some attention to it, and they basically told her to like write it out, write about it, do whatever. And
which is also worse.
yeah, so she brought it up. The model brought it up. I, for one, would have just walked off the line, but I get,
That's
contracts,
risky, yeah.
contracts and all that stuff. It makes it hard to do that. But again, we're living in the day and age where you have people who you could run these things by. Now, is Gucci an American company or a European?
No, it's European.
So, see, that's the other thing, too, right? Like, there is certain places in Europe where they're still very backwards when it comes to anti-blackness and black rights and all that. They're still very backwards.
And they're also not as familiar with the American history behind blackface and slavery and all that.
Yeah,
based
in Florence, Italy.
The Dutch, for Santa Claus? Oh my God, what's it called? When they...
Was recently, last year?
No, this is a thing. This is a traditional thing in the Netherlands or in somewhere where for Christmas it's a old folk story of a guy who apparently goes down the chimney and he gets all this chimney dust on him, but it's blackface, right? And it's been an ongoing debate for years, and they do it every year. They don't see what's wrong with it, right? So it is in different parts of the world where they may not be having this level of discussion, where they're not seeing where's the harm. Someone needs to
they don't have the same history.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
So
especially Gucci's based in Florence, Italy, and I've had some people go to different parts of Italy.
Oh, yes.
and feel it. Like these are people that aren't Italian, and they'll feel like there's some tension there when they're going to a restaurant or walking into a boutique. I was in Florence actually last year, and I didn't necessarily feel anything, but for all I know, I could have been tone deaf to it, right? But to your point. Again, there's no excuse to making these moves. A part of me, also thinks that this is all publicity. Yeah. And the one thing I will say about Gucci that I found interesting, Dapper Dan's obviously a stylist that's based in Harlem who, back in the day used to just make bootleg Gucci stuff for rappers and different artists. And then Gucci eventually was like, hey, use our legit fabrics and still do your custom clothing. And, kudos to him. He actually took a stand and...
didn't they sue him for
They sued him for a
bunch of times before they got to that point. They're like, all right, now you can part of the culture. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that was, okay, this guy's really in tune with the culture. We should bring him on board more so than this guy's like a valuable person. Yeah. And as a person, as an entity, let's empower him. I feel like that was more of a business move, you know what I mean?
And again, we talk about, again, having people on your team that are able to vet some of these ideas. This is a guy that to your point, they eventually inherited, and they were like, yo, we're going to support him and be on his side, considering he's like a black entrepreneur that has all these connections. And he actually released a statement, and I'm not sure what happened after it, but he goes, I'm a black man before I am a brand. Another fashion house has gotten it outrageously wrong. There's no excuse nor apology that can erase this kind of insult. The CEO of Gucci has agreed to come from Italy to Harlem this week to meet with me, along with members of the community and other industry leaders. I'm sure that was like last week. I'm sure the meeting happened, but it's crazy. Like somebody who's like ingrained in the hip hop culture that styles like the biggest celebrities in the world wasn't consulted when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And on the flip side of things, then you have brands like Louis Vuitton that have embraced like Virgil Abloh, and he's the first black male designer they've had for a fashion house like that. And so I don't know, like if I'm Gucci and if I'm any of these brands, including Burberry, I'm really, really going to be careful moving forward when it comes to my new fashion pieces.
This won't be the last.
It won't be.
Well, because it had the turban incident last year.
And they're going to keep doing it. Whenever their name isn't on the front page, they're going to do something else, some sneak shit, and then you're going to talk about it. We're going to have podcasts about it, and it's going to be in the news. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's a science, man. These guys, they know what they're doing. Yeah. This is I wouldn't say like almost $1 billion company, if not $1 billion company. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a very long time. This is not an accident.
And what's going to happen? Are all black people now going to stop wearing Gucci?
That's the thing. People are saying boycott Gucci. What did Mayweather do?
You guys know you won't.
You want to drop thousands on Gucci.
You guys know you won't. You know you won't. And that's the reality, right? Like they could still make these like...
I feel like we should all rebel and
you can't boycott what you can't afford.
What do you mean? I'm not. No.
We're fake Gucci, so that the real Gucci's not making the money.
Listen, I like to wear things that you don't even know what brand it is, right? That's how don't try to guess, Jay. Stop looking at me.
I'm looking at my Dickies.
He's like Zara?
Cover that up.
Jason trying to cover the Dickies logo on his shirt.
But the thing is, the sad reality is this will be old news by next week. Something else will roll out. And we're going to continue to be exhausted as as a community.
I know.
You know?
Hey, at least it gives us more podcasting time.
It's been a weird year for like stories.
It has.
Yeah,
Man.
It's only just begun.
It's only
it's February 21st.
Well, we're only like 7 weeks into the year.
Yeah.
Like this is messed up. Like the amount of stories that we've been seeing that have to do with race and sexuality. It's crazy.
From Tekashi.
Yeah.
To the Burberry to
Hold on.
Jussie.
You didn't see the woman in the States who was having a birthday shoot with her 1-year-old? And so they had the whole scene set up in this public space where other people were taking photos. And this woman, I have to say, this white woman came out of her very fancy Jaguar, barefoot.
Okay.
Barefoot. And she comes out, she goes, "This is a public park. You are destroying our grass." She starts taking apart their whole photo display.
That happened recently?
Like a couple of days ago. This girl on my Facebook reposted that to her friends in the States. And then she had like her little dog, her little yippy dog. And she put her dog down, which was now coming at the woman's baby. And then the husband starts filming, and this couple was so calm. Like, God, the day this ever happens to me, like, I have to clap, because I don't know if the good Lord is going to be able to hold me back and restrain me if this happens to me. But this family was so calm, and then the dad started to tape, and she smacked him twice. She went at him. Now, there was some speculation that she is the wife of a very rich man.
Yeah.
So they did drop the story, but they didn't drop the video. So we're waiting to see how that unfolds. But can you imagine that? Like you're having a photo shoot with your 1-year-old, and this woman comes
just shows up.
and kicks you off and tells you to get out of here. And why'd you bring these people into this park? Like,
Didn't that happen like a few times? Didn't that happen? What's that called?
Barbecuing, swimming, selling water, drinking water.
Where are people getting off? I don't get it. Like,
driving.
how are people finding the need to just have the power to do stuff like that?
They just don't like seeing black people live their best lives.
Yeah.
You know, certain people are just, they live their remnants of a time long forgotten, or in my mind forgotten, but still exists in America. And they just don't want to let that go.
Well, it's even more horrible that we are in the month of February and it's Black History Month, and this shit's going on, right? Like, you got fashion brands that are culturally insensitive. You have people that, are, that are black, that are, LGBTQ, that are taking, coming up with wacky allegations and ruining it for everybody else. Like, it's a crazy world that we live in. I'm not gonna lie, especially right now. 2019 has been a pretty interesting year. I thought 2018 was interesting, but 2019 might have to take the cake.
Every year gets more.
It's just getting weirder and weirder, man.
Just getting worse. It's just getting worse. Well, actually, that's a great segue to the final topic, and I think this is really important considering all the heated things that we've just talked about. And it's really the concept around self-care. I find that nowadays, with so much negativity out in the world, especially when you're so connected on social media, and I know both you guys definitely considering a lot of the things that you guys work on. It's so easy to be bogged down by situations like the Jussie Smollett incident, or even looking at stupid shit like what Burberry and Gucci did, and even looking at other nonsense stuff that's been going on, even here locally. I remember seeing an article posted about white supremacists being in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and that are
are you forgetting? We won't say his name, but our homegrown friend who is known for doing the utmost. I don't want to give him any more play than he deserves, but we have one right here in Mississauga who has tried running for mayor
and came in second. Far second, but he came in second.
Has come to the school board and caused commotion. Like, it's right here in our backyard.
So there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and you can't hide it. And I find that no matter how much we like to stay positive, some of this stuff can be exhausting, especially on a daily basis when you're seeing it. And I'm wondering, like, what do you guys do for what's your theory on self-care? Because I find that this whole idea of self-care has really come to the forefront within the last year or so. Yeah. And what's your theory on it? Like, well, what do you do to inflict self-care on yourself, to making sure that no matter what, you have a positive mindset? And Jan, let's begin with you.
Self-care has become a very trendy term, right? It's hashtag self-care, hashtag this, and it's become a business, right? Whether you're taking bubble baths, you have to buy a product or buy into something to promote self-care. I don't have a theory on what self-care is, because I try to find time any part of my day to make sure that I'm good. One of the things that I do that costs little to no money is I spend a ridiculous amount of time watching stupid, funny videos. Cat videos, goat videos, whatever, man. Good belly laugh, tears rolling down my face, and then go at the end, and all is right in my world. It is exhausting. It is extremely taxing. A friend of mine last week was having a discussion about that we as Black people shouldn't join anti-Black committees and try to rally. That's what allies are for. And I was like, listen, whether we join a committee or not, we are always going to have to be in fighting mode. We're always going to have to be defending ourselves or speaking up against stories like this. And your job as an ally is not to speak for us. It's to stand with us. And so when you are practicing self-care, know that just because it's a discussion that's talking about race, we don't always have to join that discussion. It's okay to be silent. You being silent does not mean that you don't care about the issue or you don't think it's wrong. You are just preserving yourself and preserving your energy for the next mayhem that's about to drop in a couple of weeks, right? So take care of yourself. And as entrepreneurs, as public figures, as a woman of color who's a public figure, I do find that there is a lot of responsibility placed on us to always speak out and address things. When I know when to bow out and say this conversation is not for me, because I really do have to practice self-preservation. Being in education, I am working on making sure that the future is good, right? So I take a lot of my energy and I insert it there. But in terms of taking care of myself, I know my limits and I play within it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about not finding the need to be a part of every single conversation that's taking place. Like, it's very easy, especially, when I saw some posts about some white supremacists having rallies in Thunder Bay and then like accusing, obnoxious claims on like the Muslim community out there and other ethnicities. And, I really wanted to just voice an opinion on it on Twitter, but then I was like, no, I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I don't need to, if I comment on it, sometimes I'm adding more fire to a situation that, necessarily I maybe shouldn't, because it might just ruin my day.
And not to take up Jay's self-care time here. I want you to just, your self-care time.
Don't worry, we got a lot of time.
But when you talked about mentioning it on Twitter, so shout out to MP Selena out in Whitby. MP Selena is queen to the extreme. She has faced a ridiculous amount of attacks online by trolls when she's talking about sexism and racism within politics. And one time, and I told her this, one time she was talking about something and I wanted to respond to her tweet, but I was scared too, because I knew that trolls would jump on that. And I knew I had to speak out. And I was like, I hesitated. And then I did it. And then like 13 seconds later, I was like, right? So that's what happens sometimes too, is that we fear for our safety when we speak out. And it's so scary that we are scared to speak out against things in fear of what can happen to us. And I have to be cautious about that. When I see things, I want to speak out. I want to bring attention to things. And it's not even self-care. Safety.
Yeah, totally.
It's my safety first and foremost. And as long as I'm safe, then I'm promoting self-care.
Jay, what do you do for self-care?
Bubble baths.
You know what?
Bubble baths.
I'm not even gonna lie. I do a face mask every single day.
Oh, yeah?
Can I feel your skin? Get over here. Yes.
Right. Jam just touched Jay's face.
It's soft. It is soft.
Yeah, I do my best. But as far as self-care goes, man, I think the big thing for me is to, in the world we live in now, where everything is like 24 hours, constantly go, is just taking time to just unplug from everything.
Yeah.
TV, computer, cell phone, social media, just taking a step back and not being so like indulged in it. It's, for the first time, like, I think I spent like a day not looking at my phone. And I felt like I was missing out on everything. Like, I felt like the world was happening and I wasn't involved. And then when I got past that, I felt like this enormous weight off my shoulder. And I just felt like, you know what? I'm still here. And, like, doesn't matter what's going on outside of this. I'm here right now. I think a lot of people spend a lot of emotional real estate in social media, and it's unhealthy. Yes. It's a new thing, and I think humans are starting to adapt to it, but it's bringing a whole new load of problems and issues and anxieties to people that we haven't even like figured out yet. We haven't even quantified yet, and that's something we should do some more research on. I'm sure they are doing the research on, but it's affecting people. I've seen it. It affects me, man. Yeah. I'm heavy on social media, so that's one thing I prescribe to people is plug out of social media. It's very harmful when you do too much of it. As far as like what I do to feel good, just be around my friends, my people that keep me grounded, keep me sane, keep me happy. It's just doing the things that I love the most, which is to stay out late, which is watching the Raptors play.
No cap videos?
You know what?
Every now and then.
I actually watched this like
The cat playing
what's the
piano.
guy name? What's that guy's name? Some Barker. He does like these voiceovers of animals.
Yeah.
And,
For
like,
animals?
Oh,
yeah.
with Wilfred the cat, the ugly cat.
Nah, he does like a bunch of different like animals, and he's on All Deaf Media.
Oh, okay.
Shit, I can't remember his name. Tony Barker.
Okay.
Hilarious guy. He does
Check him
voiceovers for like animal videos, and like I OD
get
on
into
those
it?
sometimes. Yeah,
But
not
it's,
gonna lie.
you know what? I actually, for me, because unplugging is something that I struggle with, and mainly because just like us, like both of you, like I use social media also as a tool to kind of market stuff that I'm working on.
That's all I use.
So yeah, and that's always difficult because when you're posting and you're doing all that, it's very easy to get hung up on the amount of likes and the amount of interest you get and the level of engagements. But I actually so I was in New York this past weekend, and like I remember just on the flight to New York, which isn't that long, and even the flight back, like having my phone on airplane mode and knowing that, you know, for me to connect to the internet, I'm going to have to pay for a package on the actual flight. It felt pretty good because I was like, I'm forcibly in a situation where I cannot use my phone. So I have like an hour and a bit just to have my own personal time, disconnect, and not even worry or not even be hung up on what I see on social media. And I find that, you know, for me, I love to find ways to have more of those moments when I'm not on a flight and actually, to your point, have that time to unplug and not worry about, you know, what's going on in other people's lives.
Well, here's something beautiful. First off, I remember one time I didn't post for 4 days, and a friend messaged me and asked me.
You didn't post for 4 days?
Listen,
I thought for you 4 hours would have been a break.
No, and that's the thing. But check my posts though. Like there's so
Yeah.
many days or whatever in between. Like I post when I need to. Right now I'm in
Yeah.
event mode, so I gotta post
Yeah,
constantly.
you have to.
But my friend messaged me. She asked me if I was okay, and I was like, "Why?" She said, "Because you've been posted in 4 days." And I was like, "Okay, okay." Like first off, I use social media strictly for business. If you're not making me money,
Yeah.
then I'm not posting about it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's what I use it for. But again, going back to my saying of know your limit, play within it. So with the power of social media could be used to, you know, connect and enhance, but it could also be something that's extremely emotionally damaging. Today, I got to go and read to a grade 2 class. And now I've done talks at schools where it's like grade 8s, and these kids all want to be YouTubers, right? When you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, I want to be a YouTuber, because the way they're seeing the world right now is that social media is the world. Being online is the world. And that's the way to make the quickest money and to be popular, right? That's the two most important things to these kids. So I read a book to this grade 2 class for Black History Month, and the book was called Dream Big, Little One. And I asked them, what do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? What's something you dream of and you just want to make it happen? And I was ready for all these kids, you know, to say YouTuber and everything. One kid said YouTuber, and in all honesty, he should be, because his personality was bigger than the sun. But the rest of the kids all wanted to do something that was going to benefit the world. Like, I was mind blown by it. One kid said,
That's great.
I want to be a bank man. I want to be a bank man so I can make money and make things affordable for people.
I feel like we all should be bank men.
Right? And he goes, and then I want to build things so that people could afford things. And then another little girl,
How old is this kid?
grade 2.
Wow.
And then another little girl said, I
Future
want to
Prime
be a
Minister.
farmer because I love animals. And then another little boy said, I want to be a nurse so I could care for people. And I'm just there like legit, like choking, right? Because I'm like, there's still hope. So these kids at the tender age of 7, in the most digital era of all, want to be in positions where they could give back and help others. Why can we as adults not have that mindset? Why do we have to be living in this day and age where we got to keep up with things? These kids don't want to keep up. They want to keep on. They want to help things thrive. So listening to these kids filled me. That was self-care. I came in to read to these kids. I left feeling rejuvenated. And then they told me I look good for my age, and I just felt, I felt royal.
That's why you felt good. But it's interesting you mentioned that, because I've actually read articles that talk about Gen Z, which is a generation after our generation, the millennial generation, and there is some hypotheses, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned these examples around this generation being very anti-social media, because they're always going to rebel against what their parents are doing. And again, think about, you know, us being and our parents' generation. You know, for our parents' generation, like my dad's been in the same job for, you know, over 30 years. That's like uncommon for people in our line of work. Like no one's staying in job. Like if anything, we're not living to work. We're working to pretty much live. Well, it was the opposite.
Yep.
And you know, you think about interests that our parents have versus interests that we have, interests that are eventually our kids, if we choose to have them, are going to have. It's they're always going to look up to us and be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do what my dad does and be on Instagram all day. I want to do something else. And it's very cyclical that way. Yeah. And I think, to your point, I'm glad you got that insight from the Great Twos, because
it was
I
sweet,
think,
man, it was refreshing.
Yeah, that's going to be the future.
So
I think you're going to see more of
refreshing.
that, where people are going to be like, no, I don't want to be stuck on a computer screen all day, or I don't want to be looking at my smartphone.
So you think
be out in the world.
Trend is going to regress?
100%. I have a feeling it will. It's interesting to see, like, even like my 2-year-old nephew not be as astonished by a smartphone compared to like my 6-year-old niece, who is slowly getting out of it. She likes to play outside now, but before the iPad was like everything, you know, from like age 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 in regards to watching Peppa Pig, and now she's like
Peppa Pig's a G.
Yeah, Peppa Pig's killing it.
She's a G.
Yeah.
I saw a little kid, must have been like 2 years old, using an iPad.
It's crazy.
Playing with the iPad.
and they know all the buttons and everything.
Yeah, like
it's
the
nuts.
home button,
It's
everything.
crazy.
I was dumbfounded.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and I'm that grown up that when I'm out in public spaces, and again, like, these are all examples for me.
Yeah.
This is self-care for me. It's not bubble baths and face mask and all that. I don't have that kind of money.
Wait, what's wrong with face mask?
I didn't say that. I just said I don't have time.
What was that bubble bath brand going
Bubble
up?
baths. What? Oh, Johnson's and Johnson's?
Was it Johnson? I feel like there was one that was like a bear. Wasn't there like a bear bottle? I don't know.
You clearly came from a bougie household. I don't know.
Yo, it's probably
Bubble bath was Dawn.
I'm sure.
Dishwasher
Facts.
I'm sure it was Life brand. I'm sure it was
Light
cheap.
bread. No, but I'm that adult that I'll be in Costco and I saw this little girl sitting in her cart and she had a bunch of books. And I went up to her and I said, "It is so beautiful
That's dope.
to see you with books."
She could have easily bought a Kindle. but
And
she
her
didn't.
dad was like, "Hi." I was like, "I'm sorry. I just got to praise any child I see with a book." Mind you, I don't read as much as I should, but I do find it refreshing. So in terms of self-preservation, instead of looking at, you know, what my friends are doing or what the latest article is saying to do in terms of self-care, I really do look to children. I really do.
good.
Getting out there and playing, being a kid, being funny, just having fun and muting the world. Muting the world and not paying attention to the noise and just paying attention to the sound that's within you.
Yeah, totally.
Like we've lost, you know, focus on that.
Jay, any final thoughts?
What face mask do you use?
Yeah. Kind of want
I
to
use a charcoal face mask.
Hey, my guy has money.
Nah, man, I'm gonna tell you the life
seen this
hack.
part,
Go to Winners. They have a little section where it's like mad cheap.
Yo, Winners actually.
You know what's funny though? I thought he was lying about the mask, but the fact that he said, "Go to Winners," there's a section for
But
it, charcoal.
I'm not gonna lie, Winners. I got my humidifier from Marshalls. It's amazing. I've been sleeping like a baby,
Marshalls-
and I bought
Marshalls
some
has
scents
some
from
shit,
there.
too. Oh, y'all have money.
Some lavender scents.
But I'm saying Marshalls and Winners
eucalyptus.
is not where you go
Oh
when
my
you have
God,
money.
it's
You go there when you
beautiful.
don't
It's nice
have
and
money. 'Cause They got
relaxing.
shit on discount.
No, Winners.
Winners and
Home
Marshalls.
Sense.
Marshalls is like
yeah, but
Winners.
Marshalls is like the higher
It's
up.
gonna step up, but it's basically.
Yeah,
This podcast has been sponsored by Marshalls.
One day.
But yeah, nah, man. Last thoughts on self care.
Yeah, man. Great album by Mac Miller. Right?
Everybody should take a day off social media and be around real people and have
sure,
real
man.
conversations and eat real food
Yeah.
and breathe real air and just be real for one day a week.
Yeah. I
And
like
it
that.
will center you for the remaining 6 days.
Yeah. That's good. That's good advice.
Yeah. I
Well-
feel like, man, everybody's constantly going and no one like stops.
Yeah.
To just like
It's a constant grind,
Be.
and people put a lot of pressure on themselves, which
Yeah.
again does not help. People are in heavy demanding jobs that, you know, again may pay them good money, but overall are not providing them happiness. They're facing burnout. It's
got like 10 different hustles.
yeah, it's a common
Which
problem.
is dope.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, but like that hip hop famous lingo, famous slang is like no sleep.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, Jay-Z sleeps at least 8 hours a day. Man, that guy
100%.
he sleeps on
Wow.
like Egyptian cotton. Like he gets it through the rest. You know what I mean? So like you gotta.
he's also vegan now. Yeah, so he's probably definitely sleeping well and
Jay-Z
feeling better
vegan?
about
I know he
himself.
did like a
they're-
30-day vegan thing. He's
No,
full
no.
out vegan now.
I feel like he's full of vegan. I
We're
remember
doing some kind of healthy thing.
yeah, so there was that Meatless Monday challenge that they were doing and all that.
Good for Jay, man. That guy's
Yeah.
glow up is very impressive.
I know, man. Good for
That
him
really
to
grew
be.
up in front of my eyes, man. I love that dude. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, sleep. That's another thing too. I feel like we underappreciate sleep, especially in the hip hop community. I don't know if people really do this, but they talk like it.
Yeah.
I don't sleep, man. I still get it. man, that's not gonna get you nowhere.
No, man, you need sleep.
Yeah,
you need rest.
You need to put 8 hours of good work into whatever your craft is, 8 hours of work in whatever you do to make your money, and 8 hours in that sack to get some rest because you gotta do those 16 hours every single day.
It's crazy in hip hop songs when you hear about how rappers are taking Xanax to go to sleep. Like that's so weird.
Because they'd be popping like a bunch of other shit to stay awake, so they gotta balance it out. You know what I mean? Like
it's
you do Adderall
man.
long enough, you won't sleep for a couple of days, man.
Yeah.
So like they need to pop a Xanny to balance it out.
We'll have to do a drug episode one day.
Right,
just to talk about
bring the whole
drugs.
stay out late. We'll have conversation.
I'll just bring a pharmacist in and we can be like, hey, so what are your thoughts on
Big
Xanax?
pharma.
But guys, I wanted to thank you both for joining me on this episode. This was a dope chat. Really appreciate it. I'm going to bring both you guys back on the episode, but let's do some plugs. I know both you guys are working on some dope events coming up. Jam, let's talk about what you're doing.
Oh God, what am I doing? I'm doing a lot.
Everything.
So right now I'm in the middle of planning my event for International Women's Day. Healed hearts, empowered spirits, no fluff, real talk, rawness. Last year we came together 100 women. This year we're doing it again. It is a beautiful, beautiful journey. So that's going down on March 31st. Aside from that, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at I am Jam Gamble. Website is missjam.ca. Jam is in everything because I'm that sweet, y'all.
Oh, snap.
That's right. And if you want to know more about my public speaking, you can hit me up on the slayerofthemic.com. People ask me if I'm similar to Toastmasters. I mean, Toast is good and all, but you need some jam on that. So,
wow.
yeah,
Check
that's
out the
me.
personal branding.
That's me in a nutshell.
Dropping personal branding knowledge.
Delicious.
I love it. I love it.
Delicious.
But yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
killing
homie.
it. You're killing it. Jay, what about you, man? You got some big things coming
Yeah,
up.
we got a lot of stuff going on.
Facial
man.
mask line dropping.
I mean, I'm working on it. This is how it starts. You
Little
talk
charcoal
about it.
facial mask. I'm going to buy one of those on the
You know
ride
what I
home.
mean?
Black man facial.
Pause. Anyway, yeah. So we got Jungle, which is a party we've been doing monthly for the last about a year, and it's going strong, getting stronger. This one is at Revival Bar, March 1st. March 12th, Stay Out Late is opening up for Rich Homie Quan. That is at Revival as well.
Congrats, man. That's huge.
Thank you. What else we got popping? I think those are the two immediately important things we're gonna do.
Yeah, but you probably do a lot more jungles later in the year. Right?
Oh, we got Jungle on every month, so
Yeah, sick.
stay tuned to Instagram at Stay Out Late. Our website is stayoutLate.ca. My personal Instagram is TRXPMXLK, which is Trap Milk minus the vowels. Yeah, it's a little bit strange, I know.
Trap Milk.
Trap Milk, man. Stay healthy.
I love it.
Wait, look at me like that.
Oh, Jamila just gave him a look.
Yeah, I don't know. What does that look mean?
He lost me after X. I don't know. I was trying. I was like, T, what?
It's
It's
basically.
okay. I'll tag his accounts when I upload this on iTunes.
What comes after X?
Yeah, don't worry. We'll play it back later on. But
Sweet,
yeah,
man.
it's my thing.
Yeah.
Trap Milk. I'll explain that next show.
Yeah. Definitely.
Man's already plugging himself for the next show. I love it.
Yo,
I plan on being like a weekly guy. Listen to the background, the shouting out ad
I'm
libs.
just gonna get you to send me some audio of just
Yeah,
you
I
talking
mean?
shit, and we'll put it in every
I'm
episode.
down. I'm with it.
And if you want to connect with New Theory Radio, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at New Theory Radio. As well as if you want to connect with me, it's on Instagram at Nav Nanwa and on Twitter at nnanwa. And yes, thank you so much for tuning in for another fantastic episode of New Theory Radio.
Thank
And
you,
we will
man.
Thanks,
see-
homie.
or you'll
Proud
hear
of you,
all
by
of
the
us.
way.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
man,
you,
this
thank
is-
you. Thank you.
This is
you.
like the best interview experience I've had.
Actually?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
real shit.
man.
The chemistry.
Hopefully, it wasn't the only.
It's like one of three. Nah,
It's the one of three.
nah. I mean, we've done like every radio station.
Yeah,
in,
you guys
like,
killed
Ontario
it.
and like.
G98.
They're all dope. Don't get it twisted. I'm
yeah.
not hating on them.
Yeah,
Like,
shouts-
this is the first time we had an interview that wasn't a hip hop based.
Yeah.
So like it's refreshing to talk
Yes,
about other
absolutely.
things other than hip hop.
That's the point, man. Like and again, people don't realize what the show is. It's one thing to talk about what people are working on, but I also feel like there's more substance when you have really good people in different industries talk about what's going on in the world to provide different perspectives, and then promote the stuff at the end because it's gonna all relate.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys
It's been a
tuning in
pleasure.
to listen. Big shouts to everyone giving me feedback on the episodes, and we'll see you again here next week. Peace.